Welcome everyone to the first of two Should You Summon videos for this weekend. How the heck are you? I am Fastidious. Welcome to my channel. This is a weekly, sometimes multiple times a weekly series in which I answer the question for a specific banner, should you summon? So two honestly incredible, I'm not exaggerating, incredible banners coming up this weekend. So we have two X banners on our blue and yellow summons, our rare and legendary summoning crystals. We are not talking about those. Never go out of your way to summon on those unless you're very, very early game. It doesn't matter. But we have a fantastic 15x rate up on Hex and Fersi for both your rare blue summoning crystals and your yellow gold legendary divine summoning crystals. The next day, so these banners are all coming Friday, then on Saturday we're getting a separate banner, a special ancient summoning for Valderon and Admiral Claw. I will cover that in a separate video tomorrow. This video really is just about, should you summon for Hex and Fersi? The answer for many of you will be yes. There obviously will be a lot of nuance I'll have to go over. I am going to answer the question for all spender types and all player types. So that is how much you spend and also where you are in the game. Are you early game, mid game, late game, end game? We'll go through all of that at the end. First, I will dive fairly deep, but briskly into each hero so you really understand it. Hex has always been a god. He's only gotten better as more content has been added to the game. Fersi was always great. He's had a big glow up recently and become, has been elevated to a new stratosphere of relevance. It's a very exciting banner. For me personally, on my main account, it is a shockingly exciting banner. I'll get into all of that. There is a lot to discuss, so let's get into it.
Fastidious.
Fastidious.
And guys, tomorrow morning we are going to have a huge pulse party on this banner. I will be ripping almost everything I have got. I hope to see you there. If you want to participate, it is 100% free to be in the pulse party. I would never charge someone to give me content and have me summon for them. It's something I do to bring the community together. So definitely consider signing up. The link will be on my Discord, the Fast and Fastidious. It will be in the description of this video and in the top pinned comment. Hope to see you there. Alrighty, folks, so this is how the video is going to work. We're going to talk about Fersi, then we are going to talk about Hex, and then I'm going to answer the question for you, yes, you specifically, if you should summon. So, Fersi, guys, he is a healer. He is from the Infernal faction. He is great. He has that signature big range, the vortex range, as I call it. It's the 3x4 rectangle with an extra 3 column on the right and the left. Tremendous. This is a huge carry as you progress through content, and even later on in endgame, it is super, super relevant. He has quite solid base stats, coming in at just under 4,800 attack, which is obviously very important because he is an attack-based healer. Everything else is completely fine. The HP is pretty good, actually. Solid stuff. 3.0 second attack control. That is the standard for healers with this range. Same thing, just like a Vortex or a Hollow. All in all, very good, very acceptable stats. We're fine with all of it. Let's get into the actual skills, starting with the talent. So after 5 seconds without performing any healing, the hero's healing multiplier for the next heal will be increased by 100%. In a lot of content, especially boss content, you are not hit that frequently, so he does not have to heal that frequently. So boy, oh boy, this is actually a really good talent. Fersi's whole thing is he's a very, very good healer, right? When it actually comes to healing. The issue with Watcher of Realms is we don't have a support class. So you kind of need your healers to have some high support functionality. And Fersi's always had it, but you've never really needed that specific support in that kind of way. We're getting to it in a second, don't worry. With the introduction of Guild Boss 2, he went from just being a great, really one of the strongest healers when it comes to healing in the game, but not one of the strongest heroes in the healing class, if that makes sense, because there hasn't been such a need for his specific support capabilities. Specifically, kind of a mini inspiration, but not as potent as a Constance or a Dolores, so lending his attack, but not in as big a way as it could be. Right? It's strong, but not as strong as you would like, so you always go for other options. And then major damage mitigation, but we haven't really needed damage mitigation. In came Guild Boss 2. That extra inspiration boost is all you need for a lot of stuff, especially when pairing it and cycling it with a Dolores or a Constance. It is a humongous help, and then the damage mitigation is outrageous. So let's get into the real skills now that we understand the talent, we understand the stats, and I have laid the stage. Is that the expression? I've set the stage. I've laid the foundation for what I'm going to talk about, and I've set the stage. So he's got single target heals on the basic. You can see it's showing here that the range is this 3x4, but that's because that's not when he's max. When he's max, you get that full, beautiful Vortex Fair-Seam range. Crazy stuff. Attack base healing to one ally. He's got good multipliers on this. You can increase it by 20%. Just strong single target attack base heals. It is what it is. The ultimate now, this is when it's going to start getting juicy. Heals all allies in range one time for 100% the healing multiplier, and applies a 15% inspiration to 3 allied units with the highest attack. So the 3 allied units that have the highest attack are going to receive inspiration. What is inspiration? He is lending a portion of his attack to those heroes. That is whatever his post-deployment attack was. So obviously with 4,800 or so base attack, you can build a ton on him. So that is an advantage he has over Dolores. However, an A1 Dolores is doing 60% inspiration. You can see even with max skills, your Pharisee is only doing 20%. All in all, that inspiration comes out to be 54% as potent as Dolores. For comparison, Constance's inspiration, again, she has higher base attack, but it's not as high a percentage as Dolores is 60%. Constance is 88% of Dolores, so very close. Pharisee's all the way down at 54%. But that being said, especially if you're gonna run a Constance and Dolores as well for something like a Guild Boss 2, it is very nice cycling. And also just for a lot of content, that 54% easily could be enough. A lot of times when you have like a really well-built Constance or Dolores, for progressing through stuff, it can be overkill. You just need to usually get over those defense thresholds. That's why attack is so important in this game. That's why inspiration is so important in this game. It gives you that good boost. So to me, this has always been relevant. I've got the receipts, guys. Go back to my original Pharisee guide. I said from the get he would be fantastic. He's obviously, like I said, gone to a new level with Guild Boss 2, as you're going to see when we get into the passive in 1 second, but this is really relevant. It's really good. And again, that singular big burst heal at a fairly low cost, 800, it is pretty relevant. I will say one issue I have with this is because the heal is a burst, it's not like you activate his ult and you have a countdown for those 10 seconds. So you actually, visually, it's very hard for me to track how long that inspiration is still live, as opposed to like a Dolores or a Constance as you see the thing ticking down, you know? So I think that's something Moonton should improve on. If you could add that, that would be great, you know, like activate it and then not just a burst, he starts building rage again, show us the countdown. Obviously he'll still be building rage when the countdown's happening. That works for all heroes, but yeah, I guess it's a thing. Anyway, it does allow him to cycle faster because they're instantly counting his basic attacks. So I guess that is a slightly better cycling method, but visually it's really hard since they don't show the inspiration buff. Enough of my tangent. Sans Bestowal. Very, very good stuff. When an ally in range receives AoE damage, their received healing is increased by 10% for 10 seconds. This effect can be triggered one time every 40 seconds. I do think this passive is slept on. You can see you can get the duration to go to 12 seconds. You can get the trigger interval to 35 seconds. You can get the healing to increase by 20%. That's at max skill ups. Why do I think it's slept on? Well, in a lot of boss content, and specifically we're going to talk a lot about Guild Boss 2 when it comes to Pharisee, because that's where he is like a superstar, very meta on like all the best teams. He's going to help you survive for so long. All the damage that boss does, all of it, except for the single target damage he will do on your ally with the highest HP, which is whatever tank you have built. That's why you need a tank for that fight. All other damage is AoE. It always is, right? Even if it's the falling rocks in the Aegis phase, because it's multiple falling rocks. So this can always be triggered. This can always be getting applied. This is very relevant. The key thing, though, of course, is going to be his final passive, Sand Aegis. Very appropriate, because this is like when you go up against Guild Boss 2 and he has his Aegis mode. We're bringing our Sand Aegis mode, and this is just a permanent AoE damage reduction to all allies in range. Again, he's got that big fatty range. We absolutely love it. And this, not that exciting, 5%. It goes all the way up to 25%. So just whatever damage is coming in, multiply it by 0.75. It's only 75% as strong as it should be. And for so much of Guild Boss 2, that is the difference. It certainly helps in other content. Very good in Gear Raid 2. Could even help you if he's your main healer as you progress through Guild Boss 1. Lots of things you can imagine. He's very good in Gear Dungeon 2, aka Gear Raid 5. You know, he's got that big range, and when the Volca, as you pick up units, does that big AoE, he can help a ton with the mitigation. But when you get him and when you skill this up, which you must skill him up on this if you're going to use him, particularly in Guild Boss 2, a 25% permanent non-conditional reduction on all AoE damage is just incredible. Non-conditional, unconditional, I don't know. I unconditionally love this guy. Crazy hero. I've wanted him forever. He's one of the very few normal heroes in the entire game I do not have, especially not counting Lords. For me, it's like him, Magda, and Magmus, and Salazar, I think. I desperately want this guy. If you cannot tell, I'm going to pull like crazy on this banner, and we haven't even gotten to Hex yet, who I obviously have, but has some of the best awakenings in the game. A1 for Fasti, speaking of awakenings, his first awakening, when Sans Besos, so this is the first passive we went over. When it gets triggered, it's also going to restore HP equal to 40% of Fasti's attack to the target. So on that kind of conditional tick down thing on the first passive, when that gets hit, that is a big restore, and it's going to be triggered all the time in content specifically like Guild Boss 2, where like basically everything's AoE. This is a very good A1. We go to the A2, plus 300 attack, so that's going to take his base attack over 5,000. Very nice for building him, very nice for getting more inspiration going. Now we have got the A3, so the trigger interval of the same passive, Sans Bestowal, is going to be reduced by an additional 5 seconds. That's all right. It's pretty good. The A5 Rage Regen Auto +1. I think this is such a slap in the face whenever they do this. This just means every second you get one more rage cost, one more tick of rage cost, 1 second, one cost. That is it. Like, that is all you are getting towards your ultimate. Certainly it is better than nothing, right? It's just passive rage regeneration, kind of akin to like what Elwyn does, but 1 per 1 second. It's not like where Elwyn's doing 1% per 1 second on average, right? She's doing 3% every 3 seconds. This is just 1 tick of cost. So for someone like Fasti with 800 costs, you're getting 1/800th of his ult filled additional every second. When they do this on a legendary hero on an A4, it is such an L to me. Then we've got the A5, increases the healing multiplier by 20% for 10 seconds after receiving AoE damage. This one is brilliant. It's not so needed. By the time you've got your Fasti this high up, I assume you've got a very fleshed out account. But if you're pushing for like extremely high scores in Guild Boss 2 or something, this is basically permanent, right? Every time he's hit with AoE damage, this will get refreshed. So it's kind of a permanent increase of the healing multiplier by 20%. It's just 1.2x multiplier on all the heals he will do. I would say the only thing I'd be so thrilled about would be the A1. The A2, just for the inspiration, is really cool too. After that, I think the vast majority of players can stop. But you can see, the healing multipliers just innately in him are very strong. Big single target. He's got a solid pool of base stats. He has a brilliant range. And then he's got a not negligible amount of inspiration. It is something. 54% of the best in the game is still pretty darn good. Works in a ton of content, and then when you pair it in a Guild Boss 2, cycling it on and off with like a Constance and a Dolores, it can be very strong. But really this passive, Sand Aegis, is tremendous, and specifically in Guild Boss 2, it is the difference for many people from getting wiped or not getting wiped, because there's no condition on it. It just, if you're in the range, that is it. Just, are you in his range? Great. Enjoy that reduced damage the entire battle. I will just want to remind you guys one more time, the base reduction is only 5%, so this absolutely needs skill ups. You can make this 5 times more potent. Instead of a 5% reduction, it can be a 25% reduction. All right, on to the man of the hour for most people that aren't me and aren't totally thirsting over Fasti. Hex, Mamma Mia, Hex. I believe to this day, I said it when he came out, when I previewed him before he even made it to Global. It was like way back in September or October. I said I think Hex is the owner of the most complicated kit in Watcher of Realms, and I actually believe he, to this day, still holds that title. With his cards, it is so freaking confusing. All you really need to know, if you just want the short version and you want to skip ahead, he does so much damage. All right, so for people that want to know the specifics, let's get into it. He gains these different cards. When he has multiple cards, he can get more cards, and he gets different effects. Basically, he has these cards of fate, he stacks them up. You have a random chance to get any of these effects, and they can be Temperance, which he's going to throw 3 cards, 140% damage, and he does slows. This is a huge part of Hex. He does slows, he does stuns. He's got a lot of crowd control built into his kit that I think is slept on because he's such a potent DPS, and that's how we think of him. But if it's Temperance, that's a solid amount of damage. If it is Death, that is a big burst of damage, and oh, by the way, he has damage over time. He has dots. He's going to do some burning, or it could be Strength. This is going to be a post-deployment increase in his attack, as well as a boost in attack speed. Lasts 25 seconds. Crazy stuff. Definitely worth mentioning. Hex has an extremely long ultimate, which is very fun. If you get him A3, you can make that thing even longer. Let's go to the base stats now. Hex is unique in this game because, as you can see, he is a magic marksman. The vast majority of marksmen in this game deal piercing damage. Hex, similar to like a Lunaria or a Micah, deals magic damage, and he deals a whole bunch of it. So if we max him out, he's got that 3x4 range. He's got pretty solid attack. I mean, it's always a bit lower on these single target marksmen, 3897. and then random skill effects. And there's a lot of random in his kit. He also, I should say, has that classic single target marksman 2.0 second attack interval. So you can get this guy flying, easily getting that attack interval down towards a second. So if we go to the basic attack, very simple, 100% magic damage goes up to 120% towards one unit, single target, and prioritizes airborne units. Let's go to the ultimate now. Things are going to get confusing. How are they going to get confusing? Well, remember how he's stacking up those cards of fate, and when he reaches 4, it's one of these 3 effects? Well, during the ultimate now, it's a whole separate effect. All the cards are now going to be the Joker. What is the Joker? Well, he's going to deal damage 3 times, 400% damage. Each one is inflicting burning for 5 seconds. That is very, very good. You can see also when this is triggered, it's crazy, guys. So it's 1,000 costs. It goes down to 900. It's 30 seconds. It goes up to 35 seconds. This is with your skill ups. It gives a damage increase of 100%. So just doubling up your damage. No wait, with skill ups, even better, 140%. So that's a 2.4x multiplier on all damage. Attack speed is up by 100, reduces the attack interval by 50%. This is important because it takes him forever to attack and to draw his cards. This is why his exclusive artifact is so good. I was going to talk about his exclusive artifact later, but let me actually talk about it now. He is the best exclusive artifact in the game. It is called the Sutra of Capris. It is this book over here. You get that as an artifact. It just always greatly reduces the amount of time it takes him to draw the cards, which just makes him so much better because you need to stack up 4 cards to make all this cool stuff happen, and then during the ultimate to make the Joker happen, and he just takes forever to draw cards. Making that faster is fantastic. It is his best in slot, even at 0 promotion, level 1. Nothing compares to it. Really crazy thing. But you can see they're going to reduce his interval a bit. Not really his card drawing interval, but his attack interval, so that is nice. And then, of course, as I said, all the cards will be replaced by the Joker, which is some nice increased damage. Hex truly does deal a tremendous amount of damage, even at a 0, even without his exclusive artifact. Let's go to the first passive now. Fate: Trial. Each attack launches a 15% chance, this goes up to 20% with skill ups, to inflict a stun on the target for 2 seconds. That's just whenever he's attacking, right? This does make him relevant, surprisingly, as a secondary stun unit in Guild Boss 2. It actually surprised me. I've recently reintroduced Hex to my Apocalypse 2 team. And, you know, if you don't know, Helga does about 10 stuns if you build her right. That's like where she caps out, is at 10 stuns, but you can get it as high as 12 stuns, so 12 attack reductions on Guild Boss 2. Hex, every time I do it, easily covers the remaining 2 stuns. That is something, especially if you have a slower Helga or a Nazim or something. I guess Nazim is always going to max out, but you have someone else who's only doing 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 or something. The extra 2 or 3 or 4 stuns you might get from Hex, depending on your luck, that is relevant. And then also just in normal content, right? Just progressing through the game, PvE content, this is really something. So even PvP, if you're using them in single target or anti-air, the stuns do happen. They always used to surprise me because, again, at least for me, I forget that he's like a fairly potent crowd control hero because you just think of him with the crazy damage. Speaking of the damage, you do increase his damage dealt to any target inflicted with crowd control effects. You can see that increase is going to be 45%, goes all the way up to 60%. Great stuff. Let's go to the final passive now, Fate: the Hermit. When triggered by receiving damage, resists the incoming damage and gains invisibility for 3 seconds. This effect can only be triggered 1 time every 50 seconds. So basically, it's the first time he receives damage, he's going to go into an invisibility state, and that damage is not going to count, essentially. Basically, invisible means he can't be targeted, nobody's seeing him, you kind of get that. And the cooldown on this is 50 seconds, goes down to 40 seconds. This is the least relevant of all his skills by a mile. I would also say this skill in general is not so important because like you're not crowd controlling bosses, except I guess for like Guild Boss 2, but I don't even think that still counts as him being crowd controlled. It just moves the bar down. If I'm wrong on that, please let me know, guys. But yeah, I don't know how often you're getting that damage boost. Basically with Hex, if you can max out the basic, but certainly the ultimate, you're kind of cooking. Getting this ultimate to 35 seconds is just tremendous. His kit is so confusing, right? With all the different cards, whether you're going to trigger a temperance, a death, or a strength. He's got the crowd control, he's got the DPS, he's got an invisibility and resist damage condition. He's got the crazy Joker card thing instead on the ultimate. You kind of get it, but all in all, you put it together and it does just create a crazy hero, one of the strongest heroes in the game. And like I said, he's definitely at his best with Awakenings and his exclusive artifact, Sutra of Capris. However, even without the exclusive artifact and even at Awaken 0, he's supremely strong. It's just really the difference. Is he like a top 15 non-lord hero in the game when you don't have any of that stuff? Or once you have all of it, is he like a top 5 or 6 or so? I mean, he's so good, right? And he's so good in so much relevant content. He only gets better and also more confusing as we head into the Awakenings. So the Awaken 1. During the effect of Mad Truth, there's a chance to draw the Fool. Probably my least favorite Awakening in the game. Not because it isn't good, it is very good. It's actually insanely strong, especially if you have his exclusive, because you draw cards much faster, so you draw a lot more of the Fool cards. The reason I hate it is because it just says there is a chance. Not a 25% chance, not a 5% chance, not a 75% chance, not a 60% chance, just a chance. To this day, I don't know how the developers think this kind of stuff is acceptable. How can you just say a chance? It's crazy. We already don't trust a lot of things in these games, and in this game, just tell us what the chance is. However, when that chance happens, the Fool is so good. Deals 500% damage 3 times and inflicts 75% slow and burning for 5 seconds. It's essentially a combination of strength and temperance and death altogether, right? You have the triple hitter here and the slow. You've got the big 500% burning, but now it's actually a triple hitter. And then I guess not really strength. It's a combination of death and temperance, and it's so good. Triple hitters, 500% each. You're getting the big slows and the big burning. It is very, very good. His A2, and by the way, I want to mention my Hex is A1. So I will be pulling, hoping to pick up some more Awakenings, because as you're going to see, the A2, solid. The A3, very good. The A5, crazy good. Let's get on into it. The A2, 300 more attack. That brings him to like over 4,100 base attack. That additional 300 attack leads to a much bigger proportional boost when you have a smaller attack base pool to draw from than like a fighter that already had 6,000 attack, right? This is a very relevant A2. The A3 now, this is the one I'm hoping, because I'm going to whale. I mean, I'm not spending, but I'm going to unload all my stockpile of content creator diamonds on this banner, and I'd love to pick up an A3. During the effect of Mad Truth, again, that is his ultimate, performing basic attacks against targets inflicted with burning is going to extend the duration of said ultimate by 1 second up to 30 seconds. Remember, if you're running a good Guild Boss 1 or 2 team, that thing's on fire the whole time. So you will max this thing out, specifically in the Drake, specifically Guild Boss 1. You will be hitting him in the entire duration of the ultimate. You only need to hit him 30 times over those 35 seconds. But remember, every hit will increase it a second. So basically, as long as you can manage 30 hits in 1 minute and 5 seconds, I mean, his animations are slow. They're not that slow. You will max this thing out. It is really, really tremendous. It is very strong. Let's go to the Awaken 4. A little penetration. So he's dealing magic damage. Now he's going to ignore 5% of the target's magic resistance. Really nice, just some penetrating damage. And then his A5, this is very, very good. Each draw returns 1 card of fate and increases the damage dealt by the Joker and the Fool by 30%. So every time he's drawing a card, you're going to get a damage boost on your biggest hitters, right? The Joker, that's what's happening in the ultimate, and the Fool, the thing you have a chance to do. A 30% damage increase. It's basically going to stay up for the whole ultimate. It is so strong. Hex is such a good hero. If you had an A5 Hex with the Sutro Capris, it's one of the strongest heroes in the entire game. Full stop. This was a long one, guys. I like these 2 heroes a lot. They're some of my favorites. Also, I got to mention Hex is Infernal, Pharisie's Infernal. You pull these guys, you have the workings of a very strong Infernal team comp. So, my friends, let me answer those big burning questions should you summon. We're going to start with free-to-play players. This, to me, it actually very much depends on where you are at in the game. If you're early game, picking up a Hex is humongous. That being said, we have a lot of stuff coming, so you really have to make that assessment. Is he going to be a necessary addition right now? I would argue you should probably go for it because he's a rare hero. He's in that rare bucket of legendaries, and he is supremely strong. You will want him and need him eventually. That being said, like early mid-game, Hex is not carrying you to the promised land for really anything. The place Hex really shines is like endgame content and boss content. So we're talking Guild Boss 1, Guild Boss 2, Gear Raid 5, stuff like that, you know? He's not helping you so much in a Gear Raid 1, a Gear Raid 2, a Gear Raid 3. Theoretically, he could to a point, but he's not some crazy progression carry for the early, mid, and even like the start of the late game. Don't get it twisted though, Guild Boss is incredibly important, and he's about as good as we've got in the game. A well-built Hex is absolutely king. He is so good. If you get him really cooking with Awakenings, with his exclusive artifact, he's such a special hero for boss damage. He's very good as well in Guild Boss 2. I think he's underrated there. So I would say free to play, definitely make that assessment on how far you have progressed into the game and what your priorities are. If you're not in some huge rush to progress, this is a great opportunity to pick him up and I do think that is worthy. So if you're trying to rush as fast as possible, maybe it's a skip. But if you just want to, hey, I'm in it for the long haul, even though I'm a free to play, I'm going to take my sweet time, then go and try to grab him. Let's be honest, you're free to play. You probably won't get him anyway, so it might be worth a shot. You notice with this free to play stuff, I have not yet talked about Farsi. That's because Farsi's kind of like a luxury item. Farsi will help you a ton, and I actually will say, if I flip it on its head, early, mid game, late game, huge progression healer. Because very good heals, very good range, right? The inspiration will be a fun bonus as well. However, if you want to progress through like key content, the one place you're really going to want Farsi is going to be that Guild Boss 2, which is like very down the line for a lot of people, and it's slightly niche. You can still succeed easily without Farsi. I'm about to get my 80k without him, but he kind of can be the difference between not getting a 50k or getting a 50k, not getting a 30k, getting a 30k, not getting 80, getting an 80, or for me, hopefully, not getting 120, getting 120. He's not the kind of hero, and he's also a common legendary, so you don't have to really hunt his banner. I don't know if I'd go out of my way to get him if I was a free-to-play, or a low spender even a mid spender as I'm progressing through the game. Heading into the end of the game, and especially if you want Hex as well, I think this is the ultimate cannot miss banner, full stop. Basically, if you're any kind of spender or any kind of free player even, but you're towards the end of the game and you need these heroes, you have to go and jump on this and get them. I think it truly is as simple as that. And I'm talking about you're missing either of them, no brainer, you have to go do it. And then even if you're like, you have a Farsi, but you only have an A0 Hex, I say go for it. Someone in my situation, it is the ultimate no brainer. I have an A1 Hex. I desperately want more Awakenings, and I do not have Farsi. So I'm unloading on this. I very much fit into that camp. For Whales and Krakens, probably going to want to max them out. Like if you're at least try to, if you're a big spender, these are heroes. Certainly the Hex, you're going to want an A5 Hex if you want to be truly competitive in boss stuff as a top spender, top player. So you kind of know what to do there. If I left any group untouched, please let me know in the comments. I want to answer that specifically. If you think you have a unique situation, you can explain it to me in the comments and I will attend to it. I will let you know what I think. It's a big decision because we have a lot of good stuff coming, as we always do in this game. I do think this is an upper echelon banner. Many people should probably unload all they have on it. Simple as that. You'll notice I have not mentioned any of these epics, and that was on purpose. That's fine. Whatever. You are not pulling on this for the epics. Full stop. No way. You're going for Hex, and you're going for Farsi. Alrighty, folks, so there you have it. Quick reminder, we will have a big pulse party tomorrow. I encourage you to sign up. I would love to have it be like a big blowout event. I cannot wait. I haven't had like a big ripping session in a while, not since like the Lucius, Ares, and Boreas banner. This is going to be that for me. So I've got a lot saved up. I cannot wait. Hope to see you there. Let's pull up Hex and wrap this thing up. Thank you so much for watching. I've been Fastidious. If you like my stuff, please subscribe, hit that notification bell, like it, get in the comments, share it with your mother, and I'll see you real soon. Bye.
Fastidious.